What's up, guys? So, again, we're going to hop right into it. But before we do, hit the little like button and subscribe button on the bottom right hand corner of the screen there. It really helps the channel out, and I really appreciate it. So, yesterday I did a video on the Buffalo shooter. YouTube took it down. I believe YouTube took it down because I had linked his manifesto into the video description. I am not going to do that again. However, I was not at all glorifying him, and I was highly critical and condemned everything that this guy does. This guy is sick. He's a sick racist and white supremacist. It is what it is. You cannot deny it. I don't care. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they are delusional. This individual is a white supremacist and he's a racist. He even admits it himself. But with that said, what I am hearing on social media and the mainstream media is disgusting. You know, I understand there's a lot of conflicting arguments regarding we shouldn't talk about him. We shouldn't say his name. Don't read the manifesto. Don't publish the manifesto. I get it. I 100% understand because that's what he wants. I still think, though, with the manifesto, it's important to read. I think you should give him what he wants when it comes to that because 99% of people are going to read this and say, wow, this is crazy. And the 1% that won't do that, they're already got their hands on this and they are already thinking the way they do. It won't change one thing. But you need to read it because then you get the true story. Because if you don't, if you just allow the government to throw this off to the side in the trash somewhere and only the FBI and the media has a copy of this, then they're going to start making lies up and pushing agendas, and you have no idea what the real truth is. And so my goal of this video is to get you the actual truth. I was listening to another YouTuber. I'm not going to go through a name. I'm not going to give a direct statement, but they were being critical, saying that Fox News and Tucker Carlson is the reason for this ideology. And one even went as far to say that Tucker Carlson, even though there's no evidence of this yet, is the reason why he committed this attack and thought the way he did. No evidence of this yet. Let me say something. Tucker Carlson is nowhere to be mentioned in 180 pages. Yeah, maybe he copied and pasted a lot of this, but this is a highly detailed manifesto. I mean, extremely detailed, and he has no problem listing names of people. The only thing he doesn't list is certain organizations because he didn't belong to those organizations, but all the people that influenced him, he listed all of them. Trump and Tucker Carlson are not on there. Not only are Trump and Tucker Carlson not in the manifesto, their ideas, their ideology, and their political beliefs and their economic beliefs are completely opposite of what this guy's are. The first thing, they ask, are you a conservative? He says no. Conservatism, sorry, it's a hard word for me to say, is corporatism in disguise. I want no part of it. Out of 180 pages, he dedicates about 3 total, which is a lie because he doesn't dedicate any more than 3 except for when he's talking about race to anything. So he dedicates a good amount of writing regarding how much he hates the conservative ideology. He hates conservatives. They ask him, are you right-wing? He says, depending on the definition, sure. They said, are you left-wing? Depending on the definition, sure. Are you a socialist? Depending on the definition, worker ownership of the means of production, it depends on who the workers are, their intentions, who currently owns the means of production, their intentions, and who currently owns the state and their intentions. He goes on to say how he was actually a communist. And as he grew older, he's shifted, still a communist, but into a populist ideology. Where his political in economical ideology lies is pretty much right in line. And again, I'm saying political and economical, not racial or anything like that. Pretty much right in line with those of Justin Trudeau, Bernie Sanders, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. By the way, Hugo Chavez is another one that is very, very congruent to this guy. Hugo Chavez is the guy from Venezuela, by the way, for those of you that didn't know. He is a self-proclaimed racist, white supremacist, leftist, socialist, communist, authoritarian. The only thing that keeps him really from being a full-board communist is the authoritarian part, because, communist, no state, no class, no money. That's where the fascism comes in. Fascism and fascist is a very diluted term because people use it when it doesn't even apply. Just like nationalist is a diluted term now, because go look at the definition of what a nationalist is. A nationalist is just someone that supports their country. That's literally the definition of it. It has nothing to do with race. Fascism starts with nationalism, an extreme form of it, but it goes to something more extreme called ethno-nationalist, which is what he is, which is basically the same concept of what a nationalist is. Like, I'm all about my country. Let's say I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm all about the United States. An ethno-nationalist then turns it into a racial deal, like, oh, I'm all about white people, or I'm all about Christians, or something like that. And that's what he goes on to describe himself as. He can't stand capitalism. Cannot stand capitalism. Trump's a big capitalist. So he obviously couldn't stand Trump. By the way, he hates Jews. That's why the Bernie Sanders thing, that's why I was like, hear me out, right? And politically and economically, he would align with Bernie Sanders, but he doesn't like Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders is a Jew. He also doesn't like Ben Shapiro. And who does Ben Shapiro align with his ideology? That of Tucker Carlson. So what he ultimately wants is a extreme form of segregation to the extent of black people in Africa, Middle Eastern people in the Middle East, Spanish people in, not even Spanish because you have Spain, but, Latin people and Hispanic people like in Central and South America, and white people here in the U.S. and white people in Europe. That's what he wants. Asians in Asia. He just wants people to stay in their own deal, stay in their own culture. And he was pissed because he thought these cultures were taking over. The white birth rate weren't keeping up, and the white people were getting overrun. So he gets pissed and goes and does something disgusting like this. That's basically his explanation of it. Why did he choose the area he did? Well, okay, he wanted to do a racial attack on black people. It wasn't very far. Like 2 hours from his house. And they had a high concentration of black people. And they had extremely harsh gun laws. He knew that any civilian that was legally carrying was going to be limited to less than 10 rounds or a cocked pistol. He even went as far as finding out who would be armed in the store, which would be 2 armed security guards they had, knowing what weapons they had, and using that information to go buy body armor that would protect him, because he did get shot in the vest and it didn't hurt him. Very, very, very detailed attack. His goal, which is feeding right into the leftist agenda, was to have them push gun legislation after this. He knew that the media was going to blow up and talk about 2 things. White supremacy, which is what he wanted, and gun control. He wants them to push gun control. Joe Biden today gets up on a live interview. What's he start talking about? Banning assault rifles. That's one of the primary reasons he used that gun. other than how easy he said it was to go and pull something off like this. Everything he's doing, see, they don't want you to read this. They don't want me to get up here and speak on this. But they're okay with pushing policies that play right into this guy's goals and giving him what he wants, basically. The one thing he wanted was for Joe Biden to get up there and start talking about banning assault rifles. Let me say this. I just wish we could go back in time and arm every civilian in that store, because he wouldn't have done this. He even said he wouldn't have done it. And is this going to happen again? I would say it will at some point. I don't know when, but more than likely it will. I just hope it happens in an area where the state has allowed any community, be it black people, Spanish people, white people, I don't care, but it has allowed them the ability to exercise their Second Amendment right, and they will be able to protect themselves when this happens again. I want everybody to go home except for this sick guy. This is disgusting. This isn't, from the outside looking in, it's not a racial thing, because everyone should admit that this is racist. This is crazy. So black people shouldn't look at white people saying, oh, you're all like this. No, we don't condone this. At all. Maybe a few handful. Just like you would hope that with the Manhattan shooting, I think it's Manhattan, but the one in New York City, done by the black guy, that we wouldn't just start blaming all black people for being like that, right? It's one guy's dumbass decision, not everybody's. Because if we were going to start blaming, all white people for being white supremacists, and this is the rule, not an exception, then we would still hold that all Muslims are radical because 19 of them killed 3,000 Americans on 9/11, right? No, they're not. This is an exception, not the rule. It needs to be treated as such. This is a individual, isolated incident. It's not isolated because this has happened more than once, yes, but that doesn't mean that all white people are racist and believe this at all, because it's not true. Not even close. And if you think that, I feel sorry for you, because that's not what we need. We don't need this unnecessary hate. That's why I'm getting up here and giving you the truth about what this guy truly believes in his goals, because you're not going to hear this in the media. They're not telling you this. They're not going to tell you this because this feeds right into what they want. They want this to be divisive. What more would CNN want than to get the leading ratings show in the form of Tucker Carlson either penalized or fired? That does nothing but work out in their best interest. So what are they going to do? Oh, this guy is a fascist. Okay, well, we've been calling Trump and all the people on the right fascists for years. They don't even know what fascist means on CNN. If they did, they wouldn't be using the term. And they're taking this and running with it. Come on, to make that comment. Well, Tucker Carlson is the reason for this, but we don't have any evidence yet, right? Like they're going to come up with evidence. Your evidence is right here. The guy admits to everything. He puts it all there. He has so much detail into this that I doubt they find anything in court other than maybe certain organizations that he was watching and monitoring. Here's the thing. This guy's already been arrested for trying to do this over a year ago. You don't think that they already knew what he was watching? The FBI knew about this guy. They would have already known who he's watching in the news, all that stuff. They're not releasing it. I wonder why. He probably doesn't watch CNN or Fox. You know why? Because he has pictures in his manifesto that has all the pictures of the higher ups and the anchors at each station that are Jewish, and there's like 30 of them at Fox and another 50 or 60 of them at CNN, and he doesn't like any Jews at all. So he doesn't even acquaint himself with those stations. He doesn't watch Tucker Carlson. He doesn't watch Hannity, probably. Doesn't watch any of them. Why? Because they're run by Jews. I'm telling you, this is what he thinks. This is the truth. So it's not Biden's fault. It's not CNN's fault. It's not Fox's fault. It's this idiot's fault. And anyone else who believes that this is okay. This is not okay in any form. It's not okay if a white person does it, if a black person does it, if a Spanish person, Mexican, Muslim, whatever. It's freaking wrong. It's disgusting. But don't let YouTube or Twitter or anyone else censor this, because if you do, then you're going to get it from a few limited sources in the form of our government, in the form of mainstream media, who we know lie their asses off. And we're going to allow that to create a narrative that divides us. So, to end this and cap this off, he is a racist white supremacist, self-proclaimed racist white supremacist, communist socialist, and I use those with the dash because he's kind of in between. Fascist, authoritarian, again, those are kind of interchangeable. Climate change loving freaking psychopath. And he is a leftist. It is what it is. He's on the left. Who cares? Not everyone on the left thinks like this. Not everyone on the right thinks like this. Don't put his political ideology, other than the Nazi part or the fascism part, because that actually plays directly into this. But don't put the I won't put the communist or socialist stuff, as much as I criticize communism and socialist. I would imagine that they're not doing crazy stuff like this, except for Stalin, because he aligns with Stalin too. So, and other people, but still, like, don't feed into that narrative. So that's all I got to say. Remember, go hit subscribe. I always try to bring you the truth, do the extra reading for you, and giving it out to you. If my videos get banned, they get banned. I'm on Rumble. They haven't been banned there yet, so go check me out on Rumble. And also, we're on TikTok, which we have a live ban right now, but we'll be back on there too. Thank you.